YouTube, Niner Empire, what is going down? Welcome back to another video. So if there's one thing I think every 49er fan knows going into the offseason, it's that they have to build and revamp this defensive line. And Bleacher Report is projecting that the 49ers are a top landing spot for Chiefs defensive tackle Tershawn Wharton, and they are projecting it to be a 3-year, $21 million deal that he will get in free agency. So Tershawn Wharton, little different, in that he's kind of been an overlooked player within the Kansas City Chiefs. Even against the Eagles, the Chiefs proved, stout at the point of attack. And Wharton was a big reason why in that. An argument could be made that Tershawn Wharton played at his absolute best in the Super Bowl, in which the rest of the team kind of didn't. So he's 26 years old. He's a two-time Super Bowl champion. And he will likely look to sign with a new team to obtain an expanded role in the defense that pays him accordingly. And obviously the 49ers have a need for interior defensive line. And this could be a guy that you sign if you decide to go elsewhere in the draft. Maybe an edge rusher, maybe you select an offensive tackle like Kelvin Banks Jr. This is a guy that could come to the 49ers, be a very productive player, be a key rotational piece within the 49ers defensive line, and I definitely think he fits within this Robert Saleh defense. So, I don't think the Chiefs will prioritize Tershawn Wharton to as a guy that they absolutely need to re-sign. But Wharton is a guy in free agency that could absolutely cash in and get a decent-sized deal, obviously with the hopes of continuing, his improvement as a player within this league. He was an undrafted guy. He was out of Missouri S&T. He logged 6.5 sacks last year. And I definitely think this is a key rotational piece that could be within this 49ers defensive line. So, other than, him being a decently productive player and a key rotational piece with the Chiefs, I don't know too much about this guy, but I do know one thing. The 49ers need a defensive tackle because they're obviously going to be releasing Javon Hargrave this offseason. They have Malik Collins. That's not a long-term answer. They really need more than one defensive tackle. They're going to draft a defensive tackle. They may even sign one in free agency. This could be one of them. But they need some defensive linemen. Who they currently have outside of Nick Bosa, it's just not going to work. They got a lot of revamping to do on the defensive line, and Tershawn Wharton's a guy that comes in and I think could be an integral part of this defensive line. A key piece. He's 6'1", 280 pounds. He's only 26 years old, so this guy is like not even entered what could be projected as his prime. So I'm for this. I mean, look, I'm for the Niners stacking up on defensive line. So anybody that links a potential free agent to the 49ers, and if it fits one of our needs, I'm going to be for it. That's just the fact of the matter. But I do think, just kind of reading about Tershawn Wharton and whatnot and kind of what he excels at and what he doesn't excel at and things of that nature, I think this is a guy that could be a pretty damn good piece within, the 49ers defense. So, obviously, it'll be interesting to see who the 49ers bring in, who they don't bring in and whatnot. There's been reports out there that have linked guys like Solomon Thomas coming back and playing for the 49ers. Javon Kinlaw has also been a name that they could potentially bring back. I'm fine with bringing back Solomon Thomas, bringing him back home to where the 49ers drafted him in 2017. Javon Kinlaw, not so much. I think you can get a guy in like the 5th or 6th round that could come in and be just as good as Javon Kinlaw. You could also find a Javon Kinlaw build, like how he's super tall, really lengthy and whatnot. You can find a, you know, like the same exact build within this within this draft class. Again, I mean, I've said it in recent videos, but this is one of the, if not the most talent of a defensive line class that I've ever seen in recent years coming out for the 2025 draft. So again, super deep defensive line class. I mean, this draft class just screams defensive linemen. You can find edge rushers, you can find interior defensive linemen. So, and again, that may be what the 49ers elect to do than pursuing a guy like Tershawn Wharton. But there's going to be suitors for Wharton out there in free agency. And in terms of being like a top fit, Bleacher Report is saying that Tershawn Wharton is a top fit for the 49ers in free agency. So Niners have a busy offseason to do. There's also been some reports out there about the 49ers being like big spenders this offseason, being super aggressive, kind of going broke, and just, being big spenders and trying to figure out how the hell to win a Super Bowl next year. Because, again, there's no other time to finally get over the hump than this year will be, because the Super Bowl is in San Francisco. And as far as I'm concerned, the 49ers window to a Super Bowl win is still pretty open for the most part. I mean, yeah, they have a lot of work to do in the offseason. They have to fill a lot of, positions that need to be filled and whatnot. Overall, they just have a lot of things to get done. But that does not mean that, they can't do it within one offseason in free agency and with a draft. So they just have to hammer the draft well. The draft's going to be the most important thing. I mean, obviously, I've said this in recent videos as well, but this is the most important offseason and the most important draft that this team has seen within the Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch era. I mean, this is a draft that will lay out your future team of the 49ers. And, like George Kittle said, people saying our Super Bowl window's closed, you can kick that window open anytime, and be a Super Bowl contender. And just because the 49ers had an off year last year and a Super Bowl hangover year, as long as they can stay healthy, man, I mean, that's with every team, but as long as they can stay healthy, this team is as talented as any other team in the NFL when they're healthy. So you add a couple key pieces, bolster your offensive line, bolster your defensive line, maybe with a potential a guy like Tershawn Wharton, and you're right back in the mix. So it's all about drafting well and being big spenders in free agency and signing the right guys for this team. There's other needs, though, outside of, defensive and an offensive line. They're going to need a wide receiver. That's why I'm so adamant on them pursuing T. Higgins. Garrett Wilson's a potential trade candidate. Don't know what he would go for, but it's probably going to be a decent amount. And then you have a guy like Davante Adams, which, he's not been cut yet, but, the likelihood of him being cut is pretty high, knowing that they're not bringing back Aaron Rodgers. And, if they do cut him, I think wherever Rodgers goes, if he doesn't retire, is probably where Davante Adams would likely go. But it's worth being. And Davante Adams, though, he did say he wanted to return to the West Coast. So if Rodgers retires, he is a potential fit and destination for the Niners. And not only that, but even if Rodgers doesn't retire and he goes elsewhere, I don't think Davante Adams is going to be like super adamant on following Rodgers. He could be. I mean, I definitely wouldn't rule that out. But fact of the matter is, you're going to have an opportunity to pursue Davante if he's released, and he's not my top. Like there's some other guys that I would prefer to have over Davante Adams, because the Niners basically have their Davante Adams and Juwan Jennings. And I get that Davante Adams is a first ballot Hall of Famer and all of that stuff, but he's older. there's no reason to bring in a guy like Devontae Adams when you could go elsewhere and pursue a dominant wide receiver one like T. Higgins, or get a guy like Garrett Wilson. We need speed. Devontae Adams doesn't give us speed. He gives us, he's a possession wide receiver. Like he doesn't. He's a vertical threat, yeah, but he's not a guy that can, you know, blow the brakes off of a defense with his speed. So the Niners kind of need somebody like that. T. Higgins gives them that. I mean, I don't think T. Higgins is the fastest wide receiver in the NFL, but he definitely gives them more than just being a possession wide receiver. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think of this, though, in the comments down below. Again, Tershawn Wharton listed as a top fit for the 49ers, the 49ers are listed as the top fit for Tershawn Wharton. Again, he's going to be a free agent, and he's likely going elsewhere. And he's going to come cheap. I mean, a 3-year, $21 million deal is nothing to get a pretty productive rotational piece within this defensive line. So it'll be interesting to see if the Niners are in on Tershawn Wharton. I'm sure they're going to do their homework on a lot of free agent defensive linemen this offseason. They need to get rid of Leonard Floyd. Yader Gross-Matos is likely gone. Javon Hargrave is going to be gone, of course. So big moves, big positions and big needs to fill. Tershawn Wharton would be a pretty dang good signing for the 49ers, and it would definitely help out it would help out the depth within the 49ers defensive line. So let me know your guys' thoughts on this in the comments down below. As always, go Niners. I'll see you guys in the next one.